Welcome back, traders, to another episode in your series. Does Link still has potential? Well, in this case, it's Link, but the series is Does any coin has any potential? And we're looking at Link at the request of one of our audience. Shout out to Arizona Bitcoin Slim. All right, let's dive right into it. We're looking at Link. This is the full chart. It started back way in September 2017. Already almost, 7 years, yes, something like that. Almost. Looking good, looking good. Well, not too much, but let's dive right into what am I seeing, okay? This is a very, very important aspect of my trading. First of all, let's go and see what happened in Link in the past. And I want you guys to make sure you understand this is the weekly bars, all right? These are weekly bars. Each bar is a week. As you can see over here, it says W. Okay, so every bar is a weekly bar. We can see that in the beginning, all right, from September 2017, all right, we had around 90 days of an initial accumulation. Now, this type of accumulation sometimes give us returns, but they fell all the way back down, such as what happened here, where the accumulation phase, we broke out, it gave us 170% more or less, and then it just continued to create further accumulation, a real accumulation phase this time, all right, inside this rectangle, inside this box, right? This was the real accumulation of this coin, and it lasted for around 500 days, all right? 500 days. You can see that if we look at the volume had initial kind of signs, all right, that something is happening over here. You can see that 1, 2, and then 3 big bar, very much similar to what's happening over here, right? So it was 1, 2, and then the third big bar over here that moved the coin very, very, very much to the high side of this accumulation phase, all right? Then it moved, all right? Then it made something else, just made another, 300%, then, made not an accumulation, if not just a sideways action for a while. People can maybe call it another accumulation phase. That's perfectly fine. And then it moved again in the real bull market. Please stand up. Another 300 something percent. Oh no, that's not the real one. Then another consolidation, and so on and so forth. Overall, if we measure from over here, if we measure from here to here all the way, this made roughly 8,000%, right? So roughly 8-9 times the return on the investment. Okay, so this is what occurred on Link in the past. Now I deleted everything, so we can see that what I was trying to illustrate is that this entire time from over here to over here, roughly, we can call this the accumulation phase 1, right? 1,000 days. We had a few trading opportunities, right? But the reality is that this is stage 1, as we call it, Stan Weinstein stage 1. Then we had the stage 2, right? Stage 2 lasted for around it doesn't say the days. 1 second, but 800%. The real stage 2, yeah, not from the all down from over here. If we invested all the way down from here, not from here, which was 8,000%, but from over here, right, which was 800%. In how long? Let's see, in roughly a year. Okay, this was stage 2. All right, Stan Weinstein stage 2. All this. Then you had a topping phase, which is stage 3, which is all this. Well, it depends how you want to look at it. All this is kind of stage 3. Sorry. Right, maybe even all this, whatever you want to call stage 3. But then the reality is we had a stage 4 all the way down here, which is the vast decline of the market. And now we are at accumulation phase again. This is entirely accumulation, right? This has low probability of continuing to the downside. Now let's enlarge this a little bit so we can see what we're looking at right now. We are in this accumulation phase for already 364 days, right? So for a year, tomorrow we're going to be 1 year in this accumulation phase. Now, I don't see a high probability of it continuing to a downside. If someone is asking, can this happen? all right? Yes, of course this can happen, right? It has a long way to go. It has all the way down to zero to go if we want to. But uh, will this happen? Is this a real high probability? I would argue not. I would argue this is not a real high probability, right? I would argue that maybe we'll get a shakeout. It looks like we're going to continue downwards, but then it's going to fake out the bears and going to get back into range just like this. I'm sorry, this is the wrong. This is the wrong one. This, right, just like this. And then get back to range and, just continue in its accumulation. And later on, we'll probably break out of the accumulation in the next bull market, right? So this has the probability, I would argue, are stacked for Link to continue, right? To continue upwards. Now, the question one must ask himself is, even if it does continue upwards, what's the potential over here? Now, let's just delete all of this, all right? So even if we break this accumulation phase, all right, let's say this continues, I don't know how long. Let's say we break it, right? Let's say you do this, maybe that fake out for the bears, go back up, and then we break out, all right? What is the probability that we're just going to revisit, all right, the last all-time highs, which will be roughly almost 5 times, almost 6 times from the buy point of the accumulation phase? Or even a better question is, will we see new all-time highs? What's the probability, right? What is the probability? Now let's look at something, right? Let's look at some potential, pros and cons, all right? So let's see, all right? I would argue that for the pros, all right, for the side that this might happen. Sorry, this is not it. I had it arranged for me not to need to write it. These are the pros, right? Pros are Chainlink has strong fundamentals, right? And it's loved by institutions, right? Who are the institutions in crypto? Many different types of maybe asset managers, maybe different types of family offices, maybe even big institutions that are dabbling in crypto. There are many of those kinds, and the reason this is the kind of institutional sweetheart, all right, is because it has strong fundamentals. There's a real world application for Chainlink. It's an oracle. It's working. Everyone is using Chainlink as an oracle. Yes, it has some competition, but overall, it's the best oracle out there that most blockchains use. All right, so it's strong. It's very, very strong. That's a good. That's a good. However, let's look at some cons. All right, some potential cons are, this is an oldish coin, right? Well, not oldish, it's an old coin from 2017, right? It had a market cycle, as I illustrated over here, right? So this is the first market, this is the market cycle it had. It went, it depends if you measure from here or from here. From here it's 8,000%, from here it's 800%, right? So it had a big market cycle. If it had a big market cycle, what does it mean? That people all the way down over here, okay, either track buyers that maybe are still waiting on it. Probably many of them already capitulated, but that's for another video. However, there's still a lot of selling pressure. So even if we start moving outside, this won't be overshooting immediately. This will need to build and build and build, and maybe it will reach around the all-time high levels. All right. Now, I would love to give some examples like Litecoin. If I go and you will look at Litecoin, for instance, right? So I don't want to compare it. Let's just put it on another chart, right? On my regular chart, let's say. All right, so LTC, 1 second, guys. I want to show you LTC coin in 1 second. Litecoin, let's put it in a good, more exchange. Right over here. No, this is not the one I want to show you. Just 1 second, guys. LTC, Litecoin. Let's try and show you guys something for Bitstamp, because usually that has the oldest coins, right? Perfect. Now I'm gonna move it over here, and 1 second, guys. You're gonna see it in a second. All right. What are we seeing now? Perfect. This is Litecoin. All right, everyone. This is Litecoin. Let's go. This is the weekly. So let's say that Chainlink is just like Litecoin over here. Okay, it had one, market cycle over here, and then it went sideways, had an accumulation area over there, all this, okay, all this, all this, for a while, and then it broke out of accumulation and made a new cycle, okay? This is the new cycle over here from here to here. So it made a new high in a sense, all right? The last high over here was, all right, around 373, and the new high over here was around 415. I would argue more has the same kind of faked out a lot of people, all right? So I would argue that most of the oldish coins, all right, just like Chainlink, which we're going to go back to right now, all right, most of the oldish coins that already had one big market cycles and have a lot of overhead are going to act more or less the same, right? As you see from this side over here, we're going to go roughly to the same high or maybe a bit above it. Now, we can't predict exactly what's going to happen. Maybe next market cycle, all these coins are going to rule and they're going to move to new all-time highs and so on and so forth. But the probability, based on history and based on the characteristics of trading, is that we won't get a new all-time high in these coins in the next cycle. However, if we manage to move from, let's say, crypto being like more of a cyclical kind of sector into more something like stocks that actually has longevity. For example, a stock can have one all-time high and then continue to another all-time high and continue. Why? Because it continues on to build, right? Stock can build and build and build and build and build. Just go and look at Amazon chart and you will see that it had many different market cycles, right? But in crypto, we didn't have many of those. BTC, was one, ETH was one, Doge was the third one, and probably the rest that maybe attempted were fake outs, all right? So that is what I think about Chainlink. I think it's an old coin. I think that it had its time to shine right over here, just like we showed all this was its time to shine. And right now, yes, it's in an accumulation phase. The probability of it going below the accumulation phase for more than a fake out is low, all right? I would say that we either found the lows or we're going to go fake out and then back into accumulation phase. And even if we break out, it will take quite a while for it to get to that all-time high. And even if we go to that all-time high, the probability of it breaking above it is low, all right? Now, I would argue just go to look for new coins because this is crypto, and in crypto, it's always better to find the new coins, the ones that have a lot of hype. A big example of it of this past month was meme coins, for example, Pepe. Pepe doesn't have any good fundamentals. It's a meme coin, right? But the hype, because it's cyclical, hype-driven sector, which is crypto, you can just find new type coins and make big gains fast instead of waiting for old coins to mature, and not to mature, to materialize once again, just like Chainlink. All right, traders, guys and girls, ladies and gents, I hope you liked it. And if you did or didn't, just leave a comment in the comment section. I want to know what you're thinking about this. Maybe I'm wrong. What are your thoughts as well? Tell me, what do you like better? Do you like better green charts, all right, just like everyone uses, or my blue and pink charts, which are better for long-term longevity of the eyes? By the way, just let me know what you prefer, because maybe I can just make videos the way you guys are going to prefer it. Right now, if you liked it, put a like, put a maybe a bell notification, subscribe to my videos, because that helps me, of course. And if you really want to see the way I trade, and if you really want to understand what I do in real time, all right, not only in past tense, I really get what I do, all right, then you can just go over and check my Patreon link in the description. Now, a good example